By the way, guy, almost all NFTs are just pictures.
No, it's just a picture.
That's right, Logan. A lot of NFTs are pictures, except for the fact that you said this.
I'm excited to launch my game.
You keep using and you just did it again. You keep using a word there. Game. You're not using like a project. It's a game.
It's a game. It's a really fun game that makes you money.
So which is it? Is it a game-changing crypto space that you've created, or is it just stock photos that you used and manipulated? So the day has finally come. No, boys and girls, I'm not talking about Christmas. I'm talking something better than Santa Claus coming down your chimney. It's Logan Paul sneaking through your back door to take your wallet and all of your crypto earnings. I mean, this response has been more hyped up and more prepared for than Game saying he's going to diss Eminem for over a year. So for those playing catch up, Coffeezilla has dropped a 3-part series where he meticulously goes through the different assets of Logan Paul's CryptoZoo and why a lot of people lost a lot of money and why there were a number of bad actors and why it was a scam. Logan Paul has finally broke that silence with a full action-packed 7-minute video just grabbing all of the allegations, using cold, hard facts and evidence to let Cofeezilla know why he was wrong. No, I'm just kidding. It's fucking Logan Paul. Come on, people, get it together. But we are a breakdown channel, so let's see what he actually did say and talk about it.
Coffeezilla. I watched her 3-part series called Investigating Logan Paul's Biggest Scam, and like many on this platform, you have successfully used my name for views and money. While your work used to be impartial, your addiction to clicks has clouded your judgment and you've made very real errors with very real repercussions.
Wow, so he's a YouTube who is growing his subscriber base, and because of that, he's addicted to clicks. I love that logic. I feel like no other YouTubes want to get more views and more clicks. That's definitely not how this platform works. And this is coming from the same man who tweeted only a week ago that Steven was a creative genius and that he loved his work ethic. Why the sudden 180 and character attack on Coffeezilla? Well, I'll tell you why. It's classic ad hominem misdirection. I can't argue half of the points that you're making, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to attack your character. I'm going to throw a bunch of insults at you, and I'm just going to throw a bunch of shade in that direction, and hopefully everyone's too distracted by this and by you to actually look underneath of the covers and see what's inside.
You took a shot at my reputation. So in this video today, I'm going to be defending myself with facts, something that you have gotten in the habit of twisting as you continue to morph from an investigator to a gossip channel. You see, Coffeezilla tried to work with law enforcement in the past, but his work was described as not anchored to truth and often speculative.
All right, hang on a second. What did you just say?
Today I'm going to be defending myself with facts, something that you have gotten in the habit of twisting.
So you're going to work in facts, and then what you do is you want to show that he's a fraudster and that law enforcement didn't take him seriously. So you put a bunch of quotes up on your screen, and yet as I scroll down and I look at your description, I look at your video, you're not citing where those quotes came from. You're not citing your source, which I don't know if anybody's ever had to write an English essay is like classic 101 of what you should do when you're supposed to cite evidence and cite your sources. I mean, without actually citing your source, I can make a claim on anything. I mean, the FBI did research on you, Logan, and found that after midnight, if you have too many snacks, you turn into a gremlin.
He is a lopsided journalist with an agenda, and he's nothing more than the Keemstar of crypto and finance.
Nice. Straw man. Insert someone else into the equation. Insert another distraction. This is all smoke and mirrors logic from Logan right now. He's not actually taking Steven's points. He's not addressing any of those points with counterpoints with proper factual evidence that he can give to disprove it. Instead, he continues to character attack.
Coffee, you interviewed the developer who stole the game code, fled to Switzerland, and held it hostage for $1 million. Well, his name is Zach Kelling. Surely, as the internet detective that you proclaim to be, you would know that he spent time in prison for multiple felonies, one for aggravated robbery, armed robbery at a liquor store, and the other for, surprise,
This guy really hits a lick and dips.
obstructing the legal process. I can see why you kept him anonymous.
Who we'll be calling Z here.
I guess among many things, it doesn't surprise me that he lied about having 30 engineers and a $50,000 a week burn rate.
On my end, I have 30 engineers. I'm earning $50,000 a week.
Which, side note, is how this delusionist landed on the $1 million code ransom, but it turns out he only had 3 engineers. Wouldn't someone with journalistic integrity...
Hang on a second. So this guy, who you now know is a criminal, frauded you? And he said he was working with a bunch of engineers, and then it turns out he only had 3 engineers that were working on this project when he said it was a big project. But did you ever check up on it? I mean, he's like, this is wild to me that he's accusing Coffeezilla of not pointing these things out, not discovering these things, when Coffee is the one who is responding to all this. Coffee is not the one who founded CryptoZoo. You are, Logan. You are in charge of your employees, of checking up on them, of understanding and knowing what they're doing and having a pulse on your project that you put your brand name behind, that you put your marketing effort into, that you are promoting out there. We talked about the sports analogy in the last video that we did, but what it comes down to at the end of the day is accountability. I mean, this makes me think of the infamous Zach Wilson interview when the Jets only put up 3 points embarrassingly. The defense just balled out, and he was asked if he felt like he let the defense down.
As an offense, though, I mean, when you guys are only able to score 3 points, the defense only lets up 3 points. I mean, do you feel like you let the defense down at all?
No.
And his ass was benched immediately after that. When you are the CEO, when you are the founder who is in charge of the project and your employees mess up, who do you think people are going to blame? I mean, to me in this situation, it's very simple. Yeah, I messed up. I made some mistakes. I'm human, guys. But instead of doing that, instead of taking some accountability for being the boss, the one in charge of everything, you know, because people aren't investing in this because of the crack team that you hired. People are investing in this because of you, Logan, because your face is on it and they trust you. So who are they going to blame when it all comes crumbling down?
And I know what you're thinking. What type of idiot would work with an unsavory individual like Zach Kelling? I guess that's what I get for trusting the team that I relied on to vet and manage Eddie's hiring process, who has turned out...
I guess that's what I get for trusting the team. Yet again, let me take this, hot potato, here, throw it back this way. Instead of holding his hand up and having a chance to take some responsibility for the situation, what does he do? Instead, he points fingers in another direction. This whole video is basically misdirection after misdirection after misdirection. He's not taking any accountability, any responsibility, and he's placing blame and cherry picking who he wants to place blame upon.
Who has turned out to be a professional con man that I have since learned fooled billionaires, the Mormon Church, the owner of the New York Yankees, and now me. And sure,
I mean, even there, this is clever in how he sets this up. Listen to this.
The Mormon Church, the owner of the New York Yankees, and now me.
He pre-qualifies it. He's fooled billionaires. He's fooled an entire religious organization and institution. He's fooled one of the greatest sports franchises of all time. So if he's fooled all of these people in all of these organizations, surely you guys can't really think that I'm that bad for falling for it. You see how he sets that up? Instead of just saying, you know, he fooled me. No. He fooled them, and them. This is actually, I'm going to give Logan some credit here. This is pretty clever because he knows what he's doing psychologically. He knows how a lot of people are going to digest this and how they're going to view it by setting it up within this way.
Surely you knew Emilio, the gentleman who supposedly let his child invest in a cryptocurrency, was allegedly responsible for 2 rug pulls before you interviewed him. So either you missed that or you knew it and failed to let the public know. Why? Because it was a clear sign that he was also untrustworthy.
I mean, that's fair. So one of the people that he promoted as a witness that he used in his video, he is also a fraudster. Surprise, surprise, more fraudsters in the world of crypto. And I'll give Logan that one. That's a valid point. But the one thing I do want to highlight here is that just because that one fraudster got frauded and got scammed, that doesn't mean that everyone else who lost their money, some people who lost 6 figures, people who lost just ridiculous amounts of income, doesn't mean they were all scammers and fraudsters as well. Just because there's one spoiled apple of the bunch, it doesn't make the entire basket spoiled and rotten. And again, this is a classic cherry picking argument. Like you want to pick one bad actor and you just want to cast doubt upon the entire situation. But what that does not take away from is the action of people losing money. Just because one of the people who lost money was an unsavory character. Again, this is just classic smoke and mirrors, misdirection to do everything but take accountability. You see a theme here?
You got a duck.
And as you pointed out in your fine print, cross-hatching was available on ETH at one point, but you perpetuated the opposite as truth with your chest out.
Basically, nothing worked.
And by the way, Guy, almost all NFTs are just pictures.
No, it's just a picture.
And surely
with your chest out. I love it. I love the passive aggressiveness from catty Logan Paul. Like, this is Mean Girls, the sequel right now.
It's quick to make a digital asset with, you know, unique, randomly generated characteristics. We handmade art for for the past 6 months, bro.
And we talked about this in the intro. Again, it is misdirecting because what Logan does not address is the fact that he hyped this up as this handmade art that they invested so much money into. And you come to find out that it's all stock photos that have just been photoshopped. I mean, where's him addressing those allegations? And even this, like, he's just contradicting himself, saying that, you know, NFTs are just pictures. Well, you didn't hype up this NFT in that way. In fact, you promoted it as something that was going to earn people money. And Coffeezilla didn't say that all the eggs didn't hatch. He said that there were bugs with it. He said half the eggs didn't hatch for people. And there were bugs with it. And you did shut it down. And it wasn't working for a lot of users. That's why they started selling. They started complaining. And instead of addressing the issue, of being transparent with them, like, hey guys, we know we've got some bugs. We're working on it. We're trying to fix it. You didn't update the Discord at all. The only thing you did was say yo at one point. And then another time you tweeted, sober, shake my head. And this brings me to the second point that I want to make with all this. Besides accountability, first and foremost, it's about communication. It's about transparency. And where Logan has definitely faltered along the way is through that lack of communication with his fans that are supposed to trust him.
You're kidding. You can't hatch.
You can't hatch?
Yeah, 1 second of research would prove that to be false, as you can definitely hatch eggs and even breed your animals.
Click on that. Oh, we got a duck.
And as you pointed out in your fine print, cross-hatching.
He said you could earn residual income on this game. People still cannot earn money on the game to this day. So great, the eggs are hatching. They're still not doing the majority of what you said that they would do. Just fix the fucking game.
And surely a real internet detective would not break criminal and civil laws in trying to get information, right? So why have you allowed the illegal recording of Jeff's phone call without his permission? And then more like an internet criminal, post it online.
And it was interesting. It was like, this is wild.
Now, although you didn't verify any backgrounds,
Logan, attention to details, my friend. This is probably why you ended up hiring a bunch of fraudsters and bad actors. Coffeezilla is from the state of Texas. And the beauty about Texas with regards to recorded conversations is that it is actually a one-party consent state. What that means is that basically, like, if someone calls me and I want to record them, well, I'm one of the two parties involved in the situation and I'm consenting to it because I'm recording them. So therefore I can do it. Legally, Coffeezilla can do that. It just really feels like at this point in time, Logan's like, yeah, what else can we throw at him to just absolutely demolish his character? What can we do to throw shade? Because we don't actually have factual evidence. We don't actually really have a basis to back up the majority of our claims. But we want people to think of them in a negative way. So this is what we're going to do.
however, unlike you, the blockchain doesn't lie. So let's highlight some things that you did point out. Crypto King Jake stole $6 million. True or not, we had already removed him from the team when we realized he was a bad actor and his motives were purely financial. While myself and Jeff sold nothing and made nothing as verified through investigation and the blockchain.
Jeff, Logan's manager, to my knowledge.
So fair enough. You didn't make anything. And I alluded to this yet again in the first video. But the problem that I have here is just because you didn't make any money doesn't mean that it wasn't a scam. Doesn't mean that there weren't people who lost a lot of money, and there were people who you hired, who your team vetted, who were in your circle attached to your brand, who stole a ton of money. And what I love about the situation that Logan is really trying hard to avoid is the conversations and the text messages that this group of fraudsters had about manipulating the market. And I think there's a reason behind this, because this is definitely one of those areas that Logan knows he can get into trouble with. So he's trying to do everything to distract from those conversations, from the sneak release of the coin, from planning, having these guidelines, these tools of how to manipulate the market and to take advantage of it. Because if the SEC decided to get involved and that this was worth their time, this is an issue that could get Logan into some very hot water.
As has been the case with dozens of crypto and NFT projects, the space is unfortunately ripe for bad actors to infiltrate projects that start with even the best intentions. Jake the Snake is no longer.
So if you know that there's a lot of fraudsters in this space and there's a lot of scammers, wouldn't you be more careful in who you hire? See, yet again, like, he's giving this information to Coffeezilla like he's almost talking from a place of authority to him. Like, he's talking down on him. Like, you didn't realize this, you didn't know this, you didn't know that. You see, like, again, the passive aggressiveness is just oozing out of him right now. You have to love it, man. I'm just waiting for him to bitch slap the microphone. But what he doesn't realize that he's doing, and that anyone with a brain who starts thinking logically about his points, is that he's just setting up himself for a lot of contradictions, a lot of flaws within his argument. If you know this is a dangerous space, then surely when you create a business within this space, you're going to be a lot more careful in who you hire, and you're going to take a lot of time to make sure you have a pulse on the situation so that you don't have a lot of these bad actors that are out there a part of your organization, because all it's going to do is tarnish your representation.
As you can imagine, I was not cleared from legal to discuss much of this, including the legal process being undertaken and the criminal investigations going on during the fallout, but I do appreciate you calling out that rats under my nose stole the game code, millions of dollars, and left Jeff and I abandoned with no team and knives in our back. But even
Wow. He's just come full circle here to play this victim card. You know, don't blame me. Blame all these people underneath of me. You're right. It's not my fault that a lot of people lost a lot of money of a thing that I was in charge of, right? They were bad actors at the end of the day. I mean, the narcissism with this guy is unreal at this point in time. And I'm sorry, I don't buy the whole legal held me back from speaking on this situation. No, you could still update your customer base that something was going on. You could make a post in the Discord at some point. You were ghosting the Discord. You were ghosting this business completely, not doing anything to assure the investors that, hey, we've had some issues, we've had some complications, but we're working on it. We're still working on it. We have plans. Here's what we're looking to do. We've got a bright future ahead of us. This is where we're heading. This is where we're going. No, you never did that once. And now all of a sudden Coffeezilla exposes you. It gets a ton of attention. It blows up. Now you finally respond to the situation, which begs the question, if this didn't happen, would you ever have addressed it? Or would you just have kept skating on?
maybe we could have talked about this if you had reached out to me personally, not my manager, Jeff, who is not me, Steven, but the first time you did was on Christmas Eve after you released your series so you could rely on false statements and unreliable people used recklessly. The subject line was third request for comment. Yeah, not quite. This will be my third time reaching out to you and your team. The first 2 times were through your manager, Jeff.
This is real life. This is actually real life. What is the point of having a manager? You know, listen, as a creative person, as an influencer, right? Surely the whole perspective of hiring a manager is that he is going to manage any inquiries people have anytime people are trying to get a hold of you. Instead of you being distracted by fielding all kinds of stuff, his job is to wade through all that and then to report to you, to update you on things. That's the whole point of having a manager. So how can you blame Cofeezilla, who is struggling to get a hold of you? And by the way, Coffee even disproves this. He leaks it on his Twitter that he DM'd Logan originally, never heard back from him on Instagram over a year ago, well before this video dropped, well before anything happened. So he doesn't hear back from Logan, and then he follows up and tries to reach out to Logan's manager. And Logan's now upset that he didn't reach out to him directly. Why do you have a manager?
And honestly, it sucks that after years of personal reform, going through trials and tribulations and busting my ass to evolve into a person that I can say I'm actually proud of, you led the charge to drive and monetize a narrative telling millions of people that I'm a fraud or I tried to scam my audience. That is
All right, you want to talk about redemption arcs. You want to talk about maturity. True maturity and growth as a human is learning when to accept that you have made a mistake. It is learning to put your hand up and to take some of the blame, but also to go, you know what? I'm going to learn from that. I'm going to figure out how to fix this situation. I'm going to figure out how to make it right. And I'm going to find a way to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Instead of doing that, turn it to a finger that he pointed at him, and him. Basically, everyone else but himself. No, there is no maturity in that. There is no emotional intelligence and growth from that. This is you going back to grade school, trying to say that you didn't pee-pee your pants, the other boy did. Look at him and his wet pants that you just threw a cup of water on.
And lastly, Coffeezilla, I now know your motives with this. Clout and money, good for you, but also you're slimy as f. So I'm not going to come on any of your podcasts. If you want to come on Impulsive and talk about this, that's fine.
I'm not going to play in your playground, but you can come play in mine where I can control all the edits and the narrative and everything. Yeah, that sounds like a great deal.
Denied my invitation multiple times. You're still invited. It can be a one-on-one. If not, we're going to handle this ourselves while we continue to build CryptoZoo, and I'll see you in court.
Come on my podcast. Oh, by the way, in addition to this invitation, I'm going to sue the crap out of you. How you doing? Has anybody ever been cheated on? And then you come to discover evidence that you're being cheated on, and you confront that person. And then maybe you find that all of a sudden, instead of you confronting them, it somehow gets twisted and turned into them accusing you of being a cheater, accusing you of infidelity, of doing all these different shady things. Well, this is kind of like Logan Paul's approach to this video. It is textbook psychological character manipulation. Instead of taking the things that he is actually guilty for and owning them, he finds a way to take those same facets and to put them back onto Coffeezilla. And in return, he tries to strong-arm Coffeezilla. And now he's going to try to bully him. He's going to try to threaten him. And this is typical of someone who knows they're not going to win an argument. Instead of responding with logic, instead of responding with evidence, instead he turns to threats. Instead, he wants to hurt Steven's wallet. Does that really seem like someone who has been on a redemption arc? Does that seem like someone who has truly grown as a human being?
I'll find something for you to chew on soon enough, but, I don't know. Just give it a week, give it a month, I don't know. You'll forget all about this, and we'll be even Stevens, all right, buddy? Thanks again. Mike, come on!